Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another exciting episode of Around the Wicket with Stuart Binny. Yes, the show is all about Stuart shedding his interesting intakes on what is going on in the world of IPL and, of course, all the teams that are doing well, that need to kind of, spruce up their game. And, of course, Stuart keeps peppering us with his super over performances, which, as you will see a little later in the show, are also quite impactful. Stuart, welcome to the show as always.
Thank you.
And of course, the man himself is going to talk about his favorite team this time around. Yes, I'm of course talking about the Rajasthan Royals. So, Stuart, without me asking you about a lot of the other stuff that we have been as the show has gone along, first thing obviously I would want to understand is how did it change you as a player? Because we saw a totally different Stuart Binny once you were part of this particular franchise.
Yeah, I think it started with me. Obviously, I started with the Mumbai Indians, and
Yeah.
at that point of time, even the great Rahul Dravid had made the transition from RCB to
Right.
Rajasthan Royals, and I think that played a big part of me coming into that setup as well, because I was a Karnataka player at that time, and obviously Rahul showed some faith in me, and that's one of the reasons I went to the Rajasthan Royals.
We've talked about Rahul being around, right? Always encouraging you in the past as well. We've talked about this. How special is that relationship that you have with Rahul? I'd love to know.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, from a small boy, he did pick me up to go for games, club games, whenever he was back from national duty, and was always at the NCA practice which is at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. So we always saw him every day batting, and whenever we were around, obviously he asked us to go for hours and hours to him and in the net. So obviously, I mean, he played a huge part in a lot of us growing up and also getting into the IPL. And also the Rajasthan Royals showing faith in young players at that time. They've been a setup, obviously, who pick not very big names, but those guys have actually gone on to play a lot of franchise cricket and also for their country.
There was this sparkling, beautiful season where you scored more than 293 runs. You took wickets, and you were loving it. One could see that energy every time you were playing. There was this amazing smile that you always had, and you were doing all the right things. What was that like? Talk us through that.
Yeah, I think that just came from knowing that I belonged in that setup also. Knowing that I would get a free hand to express myself as a cricketer. I think that's what lacked with other setups and other teams that I played for, where they let me go and be the person I was. To have fun. I wasn't someone who was always, in the corner, caught up with stuff with what was happening. I was always someone who went out, laughed, played cricket away. I wanted to play cricket, and I think that setup, the Rajasthan Royals, allowed you to do that, allowed you to go out and express yourself. Whether you performed or you did badly, you still could go out the next day doing the same thing.
Which is so important, isn't it, Stuart? I mean, for a player, because from there, then we see this amazing, rise as far as you for national duty is concerned, because you're now blooming as a player, and now you're getting chances in the Test team, the One Day team, the T20 team. So, do you think you would want to give a lot of that to the setup in Rajasthan Royals?
Absolutely, I think the setup gave me the confidence to go out and do it. I think when obviously there are days when I didn't do well, but they still backed me, to go out and do well for them. And then when I knew I was one of those players who they depended on to win games, I think that what gave me confidence to take it
Yes.
into international level. I think then I knew that I was an established player for Rajasthan Royals, and I was an established player in the IPL as well. I mean, I played over 10 years in the IPL, so I mean, it took me about 3-4 seasons to understand what I was in the IPL.
The man who is, I would say, a maverick. He's another level in terms of his thinking, but unfortunately, post the Shane Warne era, there has been no real impact player, or from that point of view, for Rajasthan, would you say?
Obviously, it's very hard to compare anyone to Shane Warne. I mean, he was someone who took things to a different level with the franchisee and also with how we played cricket. I think after him, I think Rahul Dravid took over, and they're completely different people. But we still got results under Rahul
How is
Dravid.
that? How is that? Now, I'd like to understand how. Rahul is, of course, more serious, more like head down, get your basics, figuring out.
I
Shane,
mean,
does he kind of give you a lot more?
look, Rahul is the person who kind of had everything in place. Like, our next session would go accordingly to time, to how we batted, how much time we batted, extra practices if needed. But Shane one was the type, if we felt good, we were out. If the team was looking good at that point, or we won, we never trained the next day. He played his cricket that way. And even with his captaincy, I think the gambling that went on with his captaincy. He coming from I guess such a big poker player, also played that card when he was captain as well. He took some
Right.
of the chances, and some of the decisions he took obviously paid off for him. And they're very, very different captains, but I think they both gave a lot to Rajasthan Royals.
Do you feel that the way the setup is of Rajasthan Royals, is there, do they have that potential creation of future cricketers? I mean, with what they're giving or how they're grooming younger players?
Look, I believe they can definitely have it if they stick with some players. It's not easy for players to come in 1 year and 2 years. Look, if they had let me go, honestly, after 2-3 seasons, I don't think I would have been that player that I was for them. It's about they gave me, showed me some faith, showed me a direction, a path, what they wanted from me. I went back to domestic cricket, went back to nets, and said, listen, come back this type of cricketer. We want you to be this type of cricketer for us.
Sure.
I think what's happening now is there's a lot of young guys coming in a year, going. There are 6 leg spinners sitting on the bench. I mean, it's honestly, it's going to be.
It's
difficult.
wayward, you would say. It's lacking
Well,
direction.
it's not the word. I think it's just that they got to go back to again showing faith in a lot of players. I mean, see, even Yusuf Pathan was with them for a long span. So did Jadeja. I mean, learned his trade there, but then see Chennai stuck with him, and look at where he is today. I mean, all the guys who have done well consistently, who have played over 10 years of IPL, haven't really jumped in 7 different teams. They've been there in one team for 7-8 years or 6 years.
Virat Kohli is the biggest example.
Yeah,
for that matter, 6 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 7 years with the Rajasthan Royals was what I did, and then 2 years with RCB and 1 year with Mumbai. So,
correct.
I mean, it definitely makes you a better cricketer when you're in that environment consistently.
Rajasthan Royals does not have a core anymore. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, look, the days when I played we were getting results. Obviously, we qualified a bit. Sometimes we did because of one bad game. But if you look at the team, then it was Rahane, Watson, Sanju, Binny. Some of them who played consistently for that whole season, played 14, 15 games unless injuries came up, and season after season. So we knew basically our trade and what we had to do. But now, I mean, the chop and change really hasn't helped Rajasthan Royals in a way. Yes, you will get 1 or 2 guys coming through the system. Will be like, wow, this guy's from where? But on a consistent basis, I feel that you personally need to give people a good 10, 12 games in the IPL, and then send them back to their domestic teams and say, listen, this is what we want you to be next year. Work and come back.
Which is so true, actually. Which actually gives a clear direction to the player as well, and keeps ensuring that he's improving. Of course, with the Rajasthan Royals, is there a certain treaty that they cracked with the Australian players, and then of course now they've changed it around to the English players? Is there, because we've seen that they've had this excitement for the Australian players, and now the tide has changed, and now they're moving towards the English players.
Look, it's a funny one. I never understood why it went that way. I mean, obviously our owner Manoj is also from the UK, lives in the UK and follows cricket. Big passionate guy about cricket. Follows cricket in the UK with all these guys playing. I think it's come from that perspective where he's seen them do well consistently in front of his own eyes and said, listen, I think these are the guys who are going to do a lot better than what he felt other players were. So I guess that it's come from also the management backing of players doing well in the UK.
Do you think that's going to make a difference?
I'm not too sure whether it will make a difference, but as I said, and I'll stick by it, if you don't win an IPL with foreign players, and we've got to get our Indian bench strength is everything. And if you've seen the guys, yes, the foreigners do get us to finals, but it's also the Indian boys who contribute to get the foreign guys to the final as well.
Yeah, which is so important, isn't it, Stuart? Because let's face it, at the end of the day, it's the reason why it's called the Indian Premier League. To be honest,
Yeah,
because I
absolutely,
mean,
absolutely. I mean, I'm a firm believer that the Indian boys are the ones who win IPLs for you. I mean, because how many you can play four foreign players, and
yeah,
whoever good,
that's it.
yeah, you've got the Indian guys to still score runs and get wickets and stand up in big situations.
What's your take now? I mean, given the balance of the 2021 season, this is a team which has been very close to your heart. What do you feel?
Obviously, I always want to see them do well,
Sure.
but it's again. I mean, you see them lose momentum halfway through the tournament or pick up momentum very late into a tournament. I think I'm a firm believer that as long as you're consistently playing good cricket, you'll get results. They do definitely have their ups and downs with selection and the way the chops and changes that are happening. You've seen guys come in, do well, gone for next two games. I'm not so sure whether it's injuries or they play horses for courses. I think they just need to stick with a basic plain 11 and then chop and change depending on one guy and the conditions maybe, and give these guys a good run, long run, so that they can go out and perform.
So, well, it's that time of the show where Stuart, of course, is going to be facing the super over. So, here we kick it off. Which Indian cricketer was named Rockstar by Shane Warne in the first IPL?
Ravindra Jadeja.
Well done, yes, Sir Ravindra Jadeja.
Now,
as we
sir.
know him. Yes, now, sir. Of course, the pocket-sized dynamo from Goa made a name for himself in the inaugural IPL. Identify the batsman.
Swapnil Asmukar.
Rajasthan Royals have featured in the very first super over in the history of the IPL. True or false?
True.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Sanju Samson is the leading run scorer for Rajasthan Royals. Yes or no?
No.
Well done.
I know who is, I think.
Who is?
Rahane. Yes.
Agla sawal. Yes. Agla sawal. Alfonso Thomas, Michael Lum, Kusal Pereira, Heinrich Klaasen. Which cricketer has not featured in the RR squad?
Alfonso Thomas.
Well done. My God. All five has been put outside the park. Siddharth Trivedi is the leading wicket taker for Rajasthan Royals in the IPL. Yes or no?
No.
अरे last ball पे चलो कोई बात नहीं, would be to know the last delivery. It is actually yes. He is the leading wicket. No, but apparently this is what it is. Well done, Stuart. This has been, of course, the most brilliant of the super overs that you've done. And of course, right now is the time to sign off. And as always, it's been a true pleasure, Stuart, speaking with you and wishing you all the best in that beautiful blossoming situation that you're going to be bringing to all of us with young cricketers from the northeastern part of the country. So till we meet again, of course, please make sure that you get yourselves vaccinated. Take care and bye-bye.